We have a new iMac, and I have some good news about this and potentially some bad news. The iMac has a very big place in my heart, mainly because, well, firstly, it's a lovely computer. If you want an all-in-one desktop computer, just get an iMac. Simple. Carry on watching this video though. But mainly because I started my first business and ran it, basically, on this, which is a very dusty Intel 27-inch iMac. And then in 2021, which was a year after I started this business, we got this. I'm gonna have to get this out of the way, sorry. I've forgotten how heavy this is. And then in 2021, we got this, which is Apple's reimagining of the iMac. And I think, and you can argue with me in the comments if you like, I think this is certainly in recent memory, the best aesthetic update to a Mac in recent times. I genuinely do. It's so much lighter than that one, so much thinner. I know that doesn't matter. It's a computer that you put on your desk, but regardless, this kind of really demonstrates what you can do with Apple. I nearly said Apple Intelligence. Apple Silicon. You know, the fact that this is so thin. They had to put the headphone jack on the side because if it went on the back, the plug would go through the iMac. That's how thin it is, and lovely colours. It's just a lovely piece of kit. Now we have a new one. It's got a new chip in it, and there are some little bits and pieces that Apple has done with this M4 iMac update that are definitely worth talking about. I think I've worked out who should buy it, and there is something we need to talk about which potentially is bad news, which I'll get onto in a bit. Firstly, a very quick word from today's sponsor, which is RoboForm. If you're storing passwords on, I'm sure you're not, but on post-it notes or in spreadsheets, just in your brain, and you're using the same password for every website, you need a password manager, and RoboForm is the most affordable and one of the most functional password managers I've ever found. You can put all your passwords in there, all of your logins for your favorite websites, for your favorite web apps, all that sort of stuff. It generates passwords for you. You can share passwords with friends and family very securely. There's an emergency access feature, so if the worst happens, hopefully it doesn't, but if it does, for whatever reason you can't get into your passwords, you can have someone who's designated as that person who can get in and get into your login details for you. It works across Windows, Mac, iOS, Android, so if you go between different systems, that's no problem at all. And the best thing about it is that it has this one-click login feature which does exactly what it says on the tin. One click and straight away you're into your favorite website. Even better news, I've worked with RoboForm to get you a fantastic deal. So to find out more, just click that link below. This isn't the new iMac, by the way. It can't be. It was only announced yesterday. I can't get it that quickly, but I promise we'll get one in and review it for you properly. However, I can tell you about what we're getting with this new iMac. So it's got the M4 chip, which is, according to Apple, up to 1.7 times faster for productivity tasks and 2.1 times faster for creative workflows. Now, this is Apple's own testing. On the website, they put what that means and what they did, but basically, it's quite a bit quicker than the M1. It's only marginally quicker than the M3, and what's interesting is that the video that Apple put out about the M4 iMac spoke a lot about the M1. All the comparisons were basically, if you've got an M1 chip, this is much faster. Big news as well, you now start from 16 gig of unified memory. So if you have been living under a rock for the last 3-4 years, you may not be aware that there's been a massive debate between 8 gigabyte and 16 gigabyte of unified memory. Every entry-level Mac had 8 gig, and some of them still do 8 gig of unified memory. I've made a living off this, basically, so this might mean I'm out of a job. Basically, Apple has got rid of that with the M4 iMac. The cheapest M4 iMac you can buy has 16 gig. Happy days. And they've raised the maximum amount of unified memory to 32 gigs. So if 24 gig, as it was previously, wasn't enough, 32 gig hopefully will be. It's faster memory as well. The memory side of things is really good news, particularly when you bear in mind that the pricing hasn't in fact, the pricing has changed. In the UK, it's gone down across the board by £100. So you're getting more memory for less. I think that's right, but basically it's a really good thing. The camera system has been tweaked as well, so this is the M1 iMac, by the way, and this doesn't have center stage, which is when, if you're on a FaceTime call and someone else walks into the frame, it pans out and keeps you both in the frame and all that sort of stuff. That is on the new 24-inch M4 iMac, which is good news. There's new colors as well. They're just different. They're very, very nice, but they're basically new takes on the existing iMac colors, and yeah, they're lovely. There are some smaller tweaks as well. So if you go for the 10-core GPU model, which is like the top-end M4 iMac, that has a 10-core CPU now. Previously, the 10-core GPU M3 iMac had an 8-core CPU. So now you get an extra 2 CPU cores, which is quite nice. If you go for that top-end version as well, you now get 4 Thunderbolt 4 ports as opposed to what you got before, which was 2 Thunderbolt 4 ports, and then I think 2 USB 3. But basically, you get 4 proper Thunderbolt 4 ports. And again, that's good news. The Magic Mouse now has USB-C connectivity, which is good. You still have to charge it upside down, which has never made any sense to me whatsoever, but some people love it, I get that. And it's basically, this M4 iMac also signals the end, the complete death of Lightning. The big thing about it is that it is the Apple Intelligence upgrade, because the M4 chip is the first chip to be built for Apple Intelligence from the ground up. Now, the thing to bear in mind with this is that this iMac here, this M1 version, will still be compatible with Apple Intelligence, as will obviously the M3 version. So it's not as though the M4 iMac is the only one that will work with Apple Intelligence. That's not the case. So it's worth bearing that in mind. Now I need to answer the question of who. Let's get this out of the way. Who is the M4 iMac for? I think there's 3 categories of people who should buy the M4 iMac. The first one is people who have been looking at the iMac for quite a while now. So if that's you, if you've been eyeing up that all-in-one and you've been thinking, I really want one, but for whatever reason you've put it off, now is the time to do it. There's always going to be something around the corner, obviously, but we're firmly in this kind of iterative upgrade cycle for the M chips. You know, going from the M3 to the M4, it's not a massive difference. That the M4 is quicker, obviously, but it's not a huge difference. The M5, when that comes, that's probably not going to be a massive difference. Basically, the difference from Intel to the M1, that was the last huge leap, basically. So if you haven't bought an iMac yet, if you buy one now, it will do you for years and years. You'll absolutely love it. The second group of people is for people who have still got one of these. If you've still got an Intel iMac, get yourself the M4 version, because, okay, we'll come on to the big iMac in a moment, but if you've got an Intel iMac which is slowly dying and it's very slow, oh, what a time to upgrade. You will not believe how much better the M4 iMac is. The third group of people is people who have the M1 iMac, and maybe, like me, you bought the 8GB version and you love it to death, but it's a bit slow now, and maybe you need a bit more internal storage. You basically want an upgrade. Just get the M4 version. If you've got the money, okay, it will look the same apart from a nice new colour, but the upgrade from M1 to M4 is quite significant, and there's a reason Apple keeps quoting that. And now for the potentially bad news. Okay, this video is definitely going to keep me fit. As mentioned earlier, this is the 27-inch Intel iMac, and it's the last of its kind. Basically, when Apple introduced the 24-inch iMac in 2021, this was discontinued. They got rid of it. They got rid of the iMac Pro, which was the same as this, but a different color. And we haven't had an update to this big iMac since. There's been loads of rumors about it, loads of, oh yeah, they're going to make a 27-inch or even a 32-inch M whatever iMac, and everyone gets very excited about it. It hasn't happened yet, and this M4 launch, once again, it hasn't happened. We don't have this great big iMac. I'm with you. If you want to see that big iMac, I completely understand why, and I'd leap at one straight away. I'd buy one straight away. I do have one hope with this, which is the fact that we have a Pro Mac Mini, and by the time that you watch this, we probably have an M4 Pro Mac Mini, but at the moment we definitely have an M2 Pro Mac Mini. Now, if we have a Mac Mini that is a Pro version, maybe Apple is just holding back for whatever reason on an iMac Pro. Now, the counter argument to that is that potentially Apple now sees the combination of a Mac Mini and a studio display as the way to get a big screened iMac. The other thing that bothered me is that on the M4 iMac video that Apple published yesterday, John Turner, he was talking about Apple Intelligence, and he said, Apple Intelligence is particularly great on the big, beautiful display on iMac. And he's referring obviously to the existing 24-inch version. So to John, the 24-inch iMac is big already, which may have been a little hint that they're not going to do another one of these. I'd love to know now, over to you guys, what you think about this. Firstly, are you going to get yourself a 24-inch M4 iMac? And secondly, are you waiting still for that big one? And just very quickly, we've noticed that 87% of the people who watch this channel aren't subscribed. So if you watch this channel regularly, but you haven't hit that button yet, just give it a little one of them. It makes a massive difference. And if you've still got some time and you want some more Apple content from me, hang around for a link to another video that I think you'll find very interesting.